Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at the last of the basic classes. The basic classes are Cleric, Fighter, Magic User, and Thief. Today we're going to take a look at the Magic User. Information coming out of the Player's Handbook, but other books. The Magic User is a complicated fellow. So we're going to take a look at the MU, what their name means, why they're called Magic Users, because they're users of magic. That's tough, right? And why playing them can be a challenge, but you as the DM can kind of help mitigate some of that. Higher level magic users have to come from somewhere, so you have to kind of help them out a little bit at lower levels. I'm not to say coddle them. Gosh knows I've killed plenty of magic users in my time, but you have to have little ways to help them out because they're a very fragile class at first level. So today we're going to take a look at the magic user itself out of the Player's Handbook, some of the things that I've done in my campaign to make the MUs more fun to play and help them survive a little bit. Once they hit about 5th level or so, they start being able to take care of themselves. But up till that, they're kind of, little baby kittens of the D&D player character classes. So today on page 121, from the Player's Handbook, Magic Users. So you want to be a user of magic, a magic user. Strange little name that. I figured they just didn't want to use wizard as the catch-all for magic use in AD&D, so they couldn't come up with anything else, so they came up with magic user. I think it's a great name. I say magic user or MU interchangeably, and I'll be doing that throughout this video. So we're going to take a look at the character class here. So out of the Player's Handbook, the magic user is 6 whole paragraphs. Wow, 6 whole paragraphs. Well, there's a lot more to the class than 6 paragraphs. You have to have an intelligence of not less than 9 and a minimum dexterity of 6 to be a magic user. Once you, if you have an intelligence 16 or higher, you gain 10% experience points as you progress in the class. You draw upon arcane powers to exercise your profession. You have mighty spells for offense, defense, and information. Magic users are very weak in combat. They're not allowed to wear any armor. They have limited weapon choices, and they have a terrible weapons table. On the other hand, they have a pretty good saving throw table, especially against magic. When you begin your profession, you usually possess a strange tome. Your spell book. You have to have a spell book in order to memorize your spells. D&D plays the old fire and forget magic user casting. So you commit the spell to memory, you cast it. Once you've cast it, it's out of your memory. You have to rememorize it. I've always liked that about D&D. It makes the magic user character make choices, uninformed choices in many cases, but that can add to a lot of fun. Once you hit 11th level, you can start creating magic items because you can enchant items. Actually, you need enchant an item to create an item, and I believe that's a 6th level spell. So you have to be 12th level, so there's a little bit of a hiccup between the two. Enchanted item is indeed a 6th level spell. So to cast enchanted item, you have to be 12th level. The book says 11th, so I guess you can start laying the groundwork for it. And then, of course, if you need permanency, you've got to be 16th if you're casting the permanency spell. Otherwise, you have to pay another mage to do it. It takes a long time, weeks and months, to create magic items, and lots of gold pieces. I enforce both of those. I don't want player character magic users wandering around deciding, I'd like a cloak of displacement, and then, going through the trouble of finding a pelt of a displacer beast that's not been slashed to ribbons, and then crafting it. That's fine. I want them to put a lot of effort and finance into that, rather than just say, okay, you did it. So I'm pretty strict on that. And then, of course, at 12th level or higher, you can construct a stronghold, clear the countryside for a 10 to 20 mile radius of all monsters, and then live there as a noble. And here's your experience points. 2,501 to go to 1st level. That's over double what it takes for a cleric to go from 1st to 2nd, and double what it takes for a thief. So magic users progress slowly. They have a 4-sided hit die. So with a 16 constitution at my table, a magic user at 1st level is starting out with his maximum hit points of 4, plus 2 is 6. That's his max. He also cannot wear armor or anything, can't use a shield. So we're talking an armor class based strictly on dexterity, which means if he has, say, for instance, a 16 dexterity, he's AC 8. If he's surprised, he's AC 10. A stiff wind is going to wound somebody at AC 8. That can be a real problem as the magic user. And then we take a look at their spells. First level magic user gets 1 spell. So, as the book is written, I'm not going to have any exceptional statistics on this guy. He's just going to be kind of a bad roll magic user. So no 16 dex, no 16 constitution. And he'll have, it gets 118 at my table, so he'll have an 18 intelligence. So he would have an 18 intelligence, be armor class 10, 4 hit points, and have 1 spell to cast. Well, this guy needs some help. Fortunately, at our table, you get 118 automatically. You roll for the other 5. The other 5, you throw 4 dice 6 and drop the lowest. So you tend to have better stats. So you're going to get that 16 constitution probably at my table. And you're also going to more than likely have a decent dexterity. Now let's go to the other end of the spectrum. We've rolled lights out on this guy, and we have an 18 intelligence, an 18 dexterity, and a 16 constitution. Then this guy, book as written, is starting at 6 hit points. 4 plus 2 for the constitution is 6. Armor class 6, because he's got this great dexterity, and of course his 1 spell. So some areas that we decided to help out the magic user, and this was incremental. We didn't do this all at once overnight or anything. But we decided it made no sense for a magic user with high intelligence not to gain the same benefit that a cleric gains for having a high wisdom. So we went ahead and we let the magic user have bonus spells based on his intelligence. So for an 18 intelligence, at first level, that's 2 first level spells bonus. So my magic user is starting out now with 3 first level spells. Okay, that's a lot more viable. He can choose up to 3 of the same spell at my table. If this magic user wants to walk around with 3 sleep spells on him, hey, great, go nuts. Magic missile, let's face it, 1 die 4 plus 1 damage, even though it's guaranteed damage. 2 to 5 points of damage just isn't that much. I will take magic missile as a brand new magic user, but it's not a real common thing. I'd be more likely to take a shocking grasp. I can at least get a die 8 on damage on that guy. And of course, the sleep spell, I can lay out up to 16 1-hit dice monsters. But wait a minute, you say. You don't get to just decide which spells you want to take. No, you don't. For that, we go to the Dungeon Master's Guide. And specifically, we go to page 39. In page 39 of the DMG, I'm going to swap this guy out for this. We have a handy-dandy little table. In this handy-dandy table are the spells the magic user starts out with. At our table, you start out with Read Magic always, and then 1 roll from each of the categories. So you're going to start off with 1 offensive, 1 defensive, and 1 miscellaneous. So that's okay. You're going to start all right. But wait, Unearthed Arcana came along and changed this a little bit. See, we do want to include the Unearthed Arcana spells in this as well. Now, all that being said, there are times I will let the MU just sit with the book and pick his spells. That would be when I have a very specific campaign for the brand new first level character to start out. And generally, if it's going to be a little tougher campaign, that's when I will usually let them do that. Short of that, I won't let them just sit and pick spells. I'll make them roll for this. And then throughout the course of the game, I'll give out, okay, you find a scroll. And on the scroll are 2 first level spells. 1 is Push and 1 is Spider Climb. The MU gets excited. They can then transcribe the spells from the scroll into their book. Or at need, they could cast off the scroll, but if they do, then the spell vanishes and they can never put it into their book. At low level, they always transcribe. I cost the magic user time and money to do both, to transcribe the scroll, to transcribe both spells. But 9 times out of 10, they feel it's worth it. With the introduction of Unearthed Arcana in 1985, we got some other spells for magic users. A lot of these spells had already been in Dragon Magazine, and a lot of us had already adapted them. But when they came out in Unearthed Arcana, they were tweaked a little bit. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look. Now the chart has 40 first level spells for a starting magic user. That's a lot of spells. And off that, you'll get Read Magic, because you have to have that to be a magic user. And then I'll allow 3 others. Generally what we'll do is we'll throw 2 20-siders. Affect Normal Fires, I've never really seen it used. So I'm not really worried about that, because 2 20-siders would give me a result of between 2 and 40. So basically I'll just have them throw two 20-siders. And usually, since Unearthed Arcana has come out, I've gone ahead and I've given a fifth spell. So they'll get Read Magic, an offensive, a defensive, and then a miscellaneous, and then maybe another one of offense, defense, or miscellany. It's really, it depends on what they roll. If they roll well and they get a lot of combat spells and stuff, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Low-level magic users have a hard enough time surviving anyway. But now we have to take a look at one spell that changed the game a little bit, Armor. The first level magic user spell, Armor. We're going to talk about cantrips in just a moment, but I'm going to talk about Armor first. So, I'm lucky. I have rolled and I have gotten an Armor spell. Woohoo! What does this mean? Well, it means that TSR wrote a confusing spell. It's 1 round to cast it, it's 1 creature, and range is touch, and duration is special. So you can cast this on other creatures. The Armor spell creates a magical field of force that serves as if it were leather armor, armor class 8. If the spell is cast upon the person already armored, it has no effect. If cast upon a creature with armor class normally better than 9 due to size, speed, etc., benefits the armor by 1 step. AC 8 becomes 7, etc. So if you put this on a lizard, giant lizard that was, your pet or whatever, the evil magic user of the area has put an armor spell on a lizard, it would get 1 place down in armor. Lasts until the spell, until the wearer sustains cumulative damage totaling greater than 8 points plus 1 per level of the caster. Thus, the wearer must take 8 points from an attack, then several turns later sustain an additional 1 point of damage. Unless the spell were cast by magic user 2nd level or higher, armor would be dispelled at this time. Until it is dispelled, allows the wearer the benefits of the armor class gain due to the Dweomer. The spell will not function in conjunction with protective magic devices such as other than Ring of Protection. We allow the cloak on that as well. Material component is a piece of finely cured leather which has been blessed by a cleric. We allow Ring of Protection, Cloak of Protection, and even braces of armor class to stack with the armor spell. But here's the important thing for a magic user, and here's where we misread it. First off, the magic user's armor class now is 8. So if my magic user is armor class 8 and he's got his 18 dexterity, he's armor class 4. That's pretty respectable at first level. Where we misread it was we thought the 8 hit points plus 1 per level were phantom hit points. And I know that my group at the time in 1985 was not the only group that read this that way. There were many articles in Dragon and things and other tables I played at in the 80s and early 90s that interpreted that to be phantom hit points granted to the caster. When it was clarified in Dragon Magazine, I think issue 103, 103 or 104, one of those two, where that is just damage you take, all of us scratched our heads and said, well, wait a minute. Even with a 16 constitution, a magic user has a max of 6 hit points. And this description says he has to take 9 before the armor wears off. Well, if he's already taken 6, I don't think if he's only got 6 and he's taken 9 points of damage, he's down. He's sucking floor. I don't think we're too worried about whether he's got any kind of benefit from this armor spell. He's got bigger problems right now. So we did misinterpret this, but we said the heck with it. We're going to go with it. So we left that as phantom hit points. So at my table, if you're lucky enough to roll an armor spell as one of your starting spells and you cast it, you get armor class 8 plus dexterity, which would be 4 for our 18 dex, and phantom hit points totaling 9. So now your 6 hit points have jumped to 15. And you get 3 spells. Wow, this DM is way too easy. I want to be a player at his table. He's so soft on his players. No, what this actually did was gave me a lot more freedom to play with the characters and to enhance my encounters with them. I didn't have to worry about the fragile egg in the basket getting creamed all the time. The magic user was no longer the one that was going to get demolished, but he was relying on magic to keep him on his pins. So it's pretty interesting that we found a way to kind of enhance the MU, but it doesn't really do much for him as far as combat and things like that, and he still only has 3 spells. In a full dungeon crawl at first level, 3 spells just is not that much, and he's not that good in combat. The benefit of the way I do it, the way I feel, is with 15 effective hit points, he can at least take a shot or 2 from your average orc without being down. So I definitely see the pros and cons of doing it as phantom hit points versus the way the spell was intended, not as written, as intended. But that being said, that's how we play armor at my table. Okay, now let's talk about cantrips. Oh, cantrips. These were introduced in Dragon Magazine around issue 64 or 65. Oh, so exciting. Cantrips. Lesser magics. You can take 4 cantrips in place of 1 spell. Wow, okay. That's kind of cool. You take 4 cantrips in place of 1 first level spell. Interestingly, it doesn't say you can take 8 for a second level spell slot, so you can only take them in place of a first level spell slot. Okay. Why? The magic of the cantrips is weak. It doesn't do a bunch. It can be fun and whimsical. We've had fun with Bee and with Belch. Making a queen belch in the middle of a proclamation is rather funny. Just hope she didn't find out that you're the one that cast the spell. We've had some fun with these. These are more whimsical than anything else. I'm not really sure where Gygax was headed with this. I think he just got excited about the idea of cantrips. And as so much in Unearthed Arcana, I don't think it was really played out that much. I don't think they role-played and play-tested a lot of this stuff. And I think cantrips are definitely one of those things. Even though they've been around for 2 or 3 years before this book was published. Even when they were new in Dragon Magazine and everybody jumped on and was taking cantrips left and right, they soon faded from interest simply because they just weren't that strong. They really didn't do much of anything to change the course of the game. They certainly didn't help you in Melee at all. So it's just my take on it. That's how I kind of view cantrips. Let me know if I'm wrong. You might love cantrips. They might be the greatest thing in the world to your game. I don't know, but I've never found a lot of use for them. So our magic user at first level is absolutely not without his challenges. He is physically weak. He stinks in combat, but he's got his arcane might. Except, of course, he only has, at my table, 3 spells to start with. That can be problematic for any player character. And it's incumbent on the DM to kind of find a way to not necessarily coddle the magic user, but you want to keep them alive. Magic users, when they hit 5th, 6th, 7th level, become some of the most interesting characters in the game and exciting. Players really get excited when their magic users can cast that first fireball. I played under a DM and as a player with this gentleman and DM'd him as well, who hated fireball. He hated the spell. He would actually, as the DM, he wouldn't say it in so many words, but he would punish you if you threw fireball in his game. He was just that kind of guy. He was a great guy. I liked him, but he hated fireball. He had an irrational hatred of it, which of course made me throw it every chance I got. So magic user is a lot of fun. They become much more interesting 5th, 6th, or 7th level. Once you're up to 5th level, you get 4 first, 2 second, and 1 third. And then if you have bonuses, you get 6 first, 4 second, and 2 third. So that absolutely makes the character class a lot more interesting. And you can start, you hopefully have acquired a few magic items by this point, and you can start broadening the class and having a lot more fun with it. So I love the magic user class. I recommend it. But at least initially, you're going to need the DM to either take it really easy on you in combat or adopt a few of the rules I suggested just to keep you alive through the combat to let you see 2nd level. So that's it for the magic user. I will be taking a look at the subclass of magic user, illusionist, in its own video. And that's sometime down the line. So there you have it. If you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and leave them below. If you like what you heard and saw, please like and subscribe. Always trying to grow the channel. And I want to thank you for your time. And I'll see you next time on page 121.